So let's talk about the experts. I told you, Social Security is very complex. I'm not an expert in Social Security. I will absolutely share that. But I have an expert on our team, and this expert is Heather Schreiber. Heather Schreiber is certainly one of the top Social Security planning experts in the country. I met Heather through the Slott organization, and I would ask her questions. And a couple years ago, she said, well, you can just hire me for that. So let's see what Heather has to say about that. So I was talking to Heather about this, and I had her watch the video. I said, Heather, tell me what you think about this. And here are Heather's comments. She said, Mark, first of all, there are several assumptions that, in my humble opinion, are a bit flawed and border on negligence. First of all, he assumes a lower than average life expectancy in both scenarios, 80 and 70. He goes on in the video to talk about 870, but we're not going to play that. Nor does he mention any cost of living assumptions that come with Social Security. By filing at age 62, he's locking in a lower bump for the rest of his life. So receiving a cost of living allowance, if it's 3% or 2% at $1,700 compared to $2,400 is, of course, a big difference. And that's where that widening effect happens. Because it will be based on the lowest benefit possible, she says. Heather goes on to write, the other glaring thing that is missing is that he never mentions Tammy in this scenario. He can't talk in terms of break even without discussing his spouse, particularly if she is a low earning spouse, because his claim at 62 means that she will inherit 82.5% of his primary insurance amount, his PIA. Fortunately, the SSA, Heather writes, that's the Social Security Administration, does protect widows in this situation by what's called the widow's limit, which gives them the greater of his benefit at death. In his case, it would be 70% of his PIA, remember, because he collected it at age 62, or 82.5% of his PIA. So there is a ability there for her to collect a little bit more, but still will have a great effect. If, in fact, they were married and she's collecting a survivor benefit. Heather writes, I do completely understand the logic of wanting to spend it while you are in your go-go years, but not everyone can afford to retire at 55 and live to 100 and still file at 62. I think he is unrealistic. And the reality is that 70% of people over the age of 65 will experience a long-term care event, and few are equipped to pay for it. And guess where it comes from? Yep, she says, their Social Security checks. So, again, Heather Schreiber, she's one of the best in the country as far as Social Security strategists, and I did get her feelings about that, and you read her words. So Heather also ran some analyses for me. So this is what we use at Heather for, not only her actual words that she and opinions she has about things, but she runs these really great strategy reports. So let me show you what we're looking at here. So I just wanted to show you the real numbers because I told you that, unfortunately, Tim's numbers are flawed because I want to show you. So here's Tim. So we'll just use a T. Starting at age 62, compared to his hypothetical twin brother who started at age 67. So you'll see that the cumulative amounts are actually much greater. There's a much greater difference, and that really has to do with the first the erroneous math, but then the compounding of the cost of living allowance. So you'll see here that Tim's cumulative value, and this is assuming Tim's age of death at age 80, like he said. Now that is not a fair assumption for planning, because as I said, sure, he might pass at 79, 80, 81 years old. Even the Social Security Administration gives him till age 84. But really, you don't want to rely on those low numbers for an assumption. I think 84 is fair because that's what the Social Security Administration tells us is the average age. We can count on those numbers. But just making arbitrarily up an age of 80 because that kind of fits this narrative, it doesn't make sense. If you're a person that may have health issues and you may not be around past age 75, 80 years old, something like that, then your decisions are going to be different, but you should still look at your situation, have somebody run the numbers for you and somebody who knows the math behind this and can really present you the actual numbers. Again, not a knock on Tim. Social Security math is really challenging. The number that Tim gave us was $4,080 collectively, cumulatively, by age 80. The actual number is $36,275. So what that means, $36,275 less, is that Tim gets $36,275 less than his hypothetical brother. That's the difference between $433,662 at age 80 from 62 to age 80 compared to $469,937 from 67 to age 80. Now, you can see in these tables here, I put these side by side. Make sure you can read these. I understand this might be small, but what we're showing here is the collection starts at age 62, goes all the way till he passes at age 80. So his last full year of collection is age 79. But just let's look at that. If Tim would have waited, or his hypothetical brother as comparison, starts at 67. His first year of collection, his benefit is $29,000. Next year is $32,000, again for inflation. Tim's still at $22,000 over here because he collected early and he starts at that discounted amount. But look at these amounts here. There is just about, when they're both age 76, because they're twin brothers, there is just about a $12,000 difference that they receive in that year. So you can see, again, that divergence, the difference between collecting early and collecting at your full retirement age. And then, of course, that last year is $40,000 compared to $28,554. And here are your cumulative values, $433,000 compared to $469,000. So I know that might be a little small on your screen. I hope you can see that. Maybe just come in closer. So here are the cumulative value differences. Again, $433,662 compared to $469,937. So moving on, I have a couple more charts here. So what if we add that spouse in? So what if Tim and Tammy are actually married, or the people listening on the YouTube channel actually have a spouse, and the spouse decides to collect at 62, and even if she collects early, and Tim decides to collect at 67, and again, this is using that same life expectancy of 80 for Tim. Well, actually, then it gets much greater, the cumulative value. So the total amount that's collected over both of their lifetimes is over $1 million, and the difference is $110,000. So by choosing to collect this benefit early at 62, for both of them, Tim and Tammy in this example are leaving $110,000 on the table. If they choose to wait a little longer, Tim collects at age 70, Tammy at age 67, and you can see they actually get $43,000 more on top of that. So, folks, these are really important decisions, again, and they should be very individual decisions, right? So it depends on what your situation is. If you have a spouse, if you don't have a spouse, what your individual collection benefit numbers are. And you should consult a financial professional for this, not somebody on YouTube. Because you shouldn't even take any guidance that I'm giving you right now from YouTube on this matter, because this is about education. This is not about your need, your specific need. I always say that. I give examples and I say, but everybody is different. And you should have a discussion with a certified financial planner or a financial planner if it fits your needs, and to make sure that this is the right thing for you, and to do your own calculation. So this goes on just to, again, show the breakdown of how this rolls out regarding the spousal collection and the difference that it makes. And I just gave you the cumulative numbers. Now I want to take a look at, what if we just increase this? Remember the comparison that we did using Tim's example of dying at age 80. Well, forget about the math difference for a second, but what if he just makes it to age 84? The average life expectancy that Social Security tells us it exists for males. So let's look at the difference here. Well, this spread gets so much larger. If Tim and his hypothetical brother live to age 84 instead of age 80, like on the video, just 4 more years, well, there's an $87,000 difference between age 62 and age 67. Holy cow, folks. That is significant. And really, I think I've shown you that, first of all, you've got to know the math and you've got to know the rules, the Social Security claiming rules, and the effect that these decisions can have. And it is not simple. It is very complex stuff. And you've got to work with the right professionals. I'm telling you, I'll say it again. I am not a Social Security expert. I am expert in a lot of areas. Tax efficient planning for sure. Financial planning for sure. Investment management, investment strategies for sure. But Social Security is very complex. And that's why I have someone like Heather Schreiber. Again, I'll just bring Heather back up here, her picture for a second. That's why I have someone like Heather Schreiber on our team. Heather's one of the best in the country. And I've hired her to, on a retainer basis, she reviews every one of our client scenarios and is very, very helpful to our team. Not just, the conversations we had just recently about this video are similar conversations we have with clients. Okay, what if this claiming strategy, what if they do this? They're really thinking about age 62, but can we show them reasons that might work or might not work? It's all very specific. Might I have a client that I recommend they take their strategies, their benefits at 62? Maybe. I don't think I ever have, but maybe. But it's all dependent on what their needs are. I'm not one of those people that always says age 70 either. All right, let's make sure we hit all of our topics for today. So we talked about the numbers, for the kind of the why behind this. Why do people put out these videos like this? Well, again, I'm sure Sarasota Tim is a very nice man and he's got all good intentions. He really seems to be a good person. But listen, he's trying to drive subscribers. He's trying to get more views. He's trying to get more likes. All this equals money to him. So you can't fault him for that, but you gotta, he's not a financial advisor. He's giving out financial advice. He's not qualified to do so. He can talk about his own experience, but he should not be so forcefully, in my opinion, telling people what they should do. Tim, if you're listening, just tell people, make sure you seek the guidance of a qualified financial professional. The calculations do not include cost of living allowance. There's only been a few times in history that we have not had cost of living allowance. Calculations don't include compound interest on the cost of living allowance. Huge difference there. And of course, the compound interest on cost of living allowance greatly increases the value of waiting. Considerations for spousal benefits. Holy cow. It can have such a big impact if there's a spouse involved. We talked about Heather Schreiber's comments, and we talked about Heather. I told you that one of my concerns is that Tim talked about helping thousands of people receive Social Security benefits early, receiving them at age 62 instead of any other age, whether it's 63, 64, 65, 67, 70 years old. He's locked in. You should take it at age 62. It's different for everybody. It may be the best option for Tim, but this is rarely the best option. Other considerations. Other income you may have. You get a reduction in your Social Security benefits if the Social Security benefit or Social Security Administration says that you earn too much money. Those thresholds I don't have here. They're listed on the Social Security website. Taxes, of course. Your own cash flow needs. Spousal benefits. Now, listen, I list cash flow needs. Again, there might be good reasons to take your Social Security at age 62. One of them might be, I really need that income now. But you have to look at everything, and it is specific for you. If it works for you to take Social Security at age 62, you should not be advising other people to do it just because it worked for you. Spousal benefits. Social Security math and planning can be confusing. One of the most important decisions you will make is how and when you're going to collect your Social Security, and proper, thorough financial planning is vital. So again, folks, this was not about calling out or picking on Sarasota Tim. I respect what he's done on YouTube. I caution him on giving financial advice. I know that Social Security and Social Security topics are one of the most searched topics on the internet. I get it. That helped pop his channel as he said it. I know that means more money in his pocket. I'm not trying to hurt this guy. I'm trying to educate you to be careful about where you get your financial advice from. YouTube should be about financial education. It should not be about following advice from somebody who is not qualified to give it. I think that covers everything for today. Okay. I want to thank you all for joining me this week. Appreciate all the input and all the suggestions and all the feedback I get from you folks. I love the comments, so be sure to fill out those comments. If you have thoughts about webinars you'd like to see, send me an email. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. I look forward to seeing you all next week. We're going to talk about Dave Ramsey and his withdrawal rates. You may have seen some information about this on YouTube, but I'm going to go over it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and concerns. Thank you, and have a great week. Take care.